Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series, August 25th, 1984. Notable day because we kind of get a little background on a couple of people. We get a interesting return, and we get an interesting debut, and maybe some dissension in the Freebirds all along the way. Skip Young discusses growing up in the Dallas area, talks about going to play sports in high school in Dallas. Also, his father, a local minister. Big thing in Texas, Christian faith and such. And while I don't necessarily understand its infusion with pro wrestling, I certainly do see that it has worked over the years to gain, I guess, some benefit of knowledge. There is a highlight package slash rematch encore match type thing. As always, we don't cover those because if you're following week by week, what's the point of reruns? Anyway, Bill and Scott Irwin against Buck Zumhoff and Jules Strongbow. Interesting combination there. Still haven't necessarily found a full-on role for Strongbow. At least it doesn't feel that way. And to be fair, they haven't necessarily found a full-on role for Zumhoff either. It just seems like they're bouncing around. But the Irwin brothers, Bill and Scott, formerly known as the Destroyers, still under the tutelage of Skandar Akbar, and they are still successful in their forays into things. The Irwins, obviously the power advantage is here. And we see Strongbow hit some early strikes on Scott. Of course, Bill, a former multi-month Texas champion several times over, and Scott, not so much on the singles success here yet anyway. But as a member of the Super Destroyers, the success more palatable. Obviously, we see Jules Strongbow doing the tribal dance and kind of getting under the skin of Scott early. Basics of a match here. Strongbow actually takes more of the match than I would expect. And then we see kind of a bit of stalling as Scott remains in there with Strongbow for the majority of their tag team match, which doesn't exactly seem like the best of strategies. Zumhoff does finally make his way in and get an advantage over, again, with Scott, and he certainly cranks on just basic holds. One thing that he's doing is he bounces around quite a bit, even on something as simple as a wrist lock. You kind of think, is this guy nuts, or is he just really into what he's doing? Tag off to Jules Strongbow for the hot tag, the crawl through the legs style hot tag. Strongbow goes nuts and takes out both men to their chagrin. And then we see Zumhoff tag back in. He goes nuts, hits drop kicks on both of his adversaries, and goes and takes things in his direction for a while. Big tip up of the side headlock takeover style maneuver, and he tries to get his team back in control and keep them there. Longer match than is average. We do see a big vertical suplex by one of the Irwins. Float over, do not get the pinfall though. Obviously, in this endeavor, you probably expect to see the babyfaces win, and that's more of the Irwins have not been portrayed as well since losing the masks. I don't know if masks make a major difference, but disqualification as the strap is brought in to the affair by Chief J. Strongbow, and so disqualification win for the Destroyers. Gary Hart out there with hair, just Weird to see Gary Hart with hair, but anyway, he talks about looking at new talent, talks about wanting to get rid of Skandar Akbar, just the way he says it, and wanting to get rid of him once and for all. The eventual alignment of a new talent for Gary Hart, a bit surprising. They did bring back Kabuki for one or two shots, but that doesn't seem to have gone nearly as in the way they expected. Also, we move to a major debut in the next segment as Jake the Snake Roberts makes his world-class debut against Mike Gallagher. By this point, Jake has been to several territories, Mid-Atlantic, Mid-South, most notably Calgary and the like. So I actually did wonder, I wonder if Jake had ever gone to world class, and he does here in the summer of '84. Gallagher, not a guy that is much of a challenge for him. He hooks the DDT really quickly, couple minutes in, and gets rid of his opponent in fast order. Then we see a lumberjack match, main event, with Kerry Von Erich and Terry Gordy. Originally supposed to be Michael Hayes. Of course, lumberjack match, the match where everybody's around ringside, baby faces and heels, and we see Kerry Von Erich go nuts pretty quickly. Hit the big back body drop in the first couple minutes and sends Gordy to the outside. Everybody sends Gordy back in, and Gordy gets shoved back in. He does not want to be in the ring with Kerry Von Erich for sure, but he's there anyway. They go to the outside, and there's a good bit of action. The wonder of where Michael Hayes is has to be on the mind of Terry Gordy, at least in story. And very basic match. Lumberjack matches are good for a few good spots, but they don't really advance storylines very much because they usually just break down into major brawls. Kerry doesn't get as much offense as one would imagine. Kerry does find himself on the end of a rather sloppy-looking pile driver at a point, or Kerry executes the pile driver, that is, and Gordy back to the outside. Gordy does at one point go for the spike to the throat area of Kerry Von Erich and gets an advantage for a little while. Eventually, post that, all of the lumberjacks wander into the ring and things break down into complete chaos. That's kind of why I'm not a big fan of lumberjack matches. I understand they have a place and you could probably do one once a year or something like that, be okay, but they always, or often always, end the same way, with people wandering in the ring. This time it's Killer Khan who does, and leads to a non-finish, as the lumberjacks go nuts. That will close August of 1984 for us. We will be back with September and October, most likely today. Anyway, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.